Hello viewers, welcome to Legal Talks. In the post-lockdown era, one of the buzzwords is MSMEs. What is this MSMEs? We'll see later on. But before that, I would like to tell you some of the favors granted by the government on such units. If you are registered under the Act as MSME, then you are entitled to certain benefits. Some of the benefits which I would like to enumerate are that it is easy to receive bank loan. Not only that, you get 50% discount on trademark registration. It is also easy to open current account in a bank. It is also easy to get approval, license and registration. Mind well here, now the talks are going on even for auto renewals. So you can visualize how easy it is. It also confers recognition by the customer. I will here tell you that government has issued circulars that government departments must first give priority in purchase to such units. There is also exemption on the interest rate on the overdraft facility. Concession is also given on electricity bills. One thing more is industrial promotion policy subsidy is also available to such units. Foremost advantage is that such units are given protection on delayed payments. How, we'll see later. Further, even the central government has also conferred certain concessions, namely that such units fall in priority sector lending and therefore lower rates of interest are charged from such units. There are certain excise exemptions. Exemptions are also given under the direct taxes and the unit get statutory support. Having known some of the advantages, I would tell you that before knowing MSMEs, I would tell you to go back to 1951. Why? Because long back in 1951, an act was passed which is still in operation, namely Industries (Development and Regulation Act 1951. This act was passed for providing means of implementing the government policy for industries and to bring the industries under the control of the government. Why? Because such industries were found to be not only expedient and vital, but were also affecting the whole country and were also contributing substantially to the GNP. It also provided gainful employment to millions of people. And despite this situation, such units were not in healthy condition, and therefore rehabilitation of such units was also the need of the hour. At the same time, the government also wanted to provide competitive strength to such units, and in a given case to reserve exclusively for small scale industries. With this object, the said act was passed, And Section 11B of the said Act provided that central government can classify the industrial units for supportive measures, for exemptions, and for other favorable treatments to maintain their viability and strength. It is under this background that long time back in 1993, an act was passed, namely Interest on Delayed Payment to Small Scale and Ancillary Industries Act 1993. I may tell you here that essentially this act was passed for providing protection on delayed payment, and the provision was made that if the payment is not made to such units within the stipulated time, the obligation was to pay the compound interest with monthly rest. And when the award or decree is passed, then in case the same is challenged, first of all, 75% of the amount was required to be deposited, and the court was given the discretion to pay the same as it found reasonable. I am not talking about the provisions of this act in details because this act has been repealed by the subsequent act, namely the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. I hope now you get the meaning of MSMEs. So, never misunderstand that MSMEs is a word. It is an acronym. But unfortunately or fortunately, we live in an era of acronyms. And therefore, we have to use acronyms as words. What is this MSMED Act? As I told you earlier, the different objects under the different acts, yes, they are now codified into this act. And this act is passed for facilitating the promotion and development of such units and enhancing the competitiveness of such units. And therefore, in order to meet with this object, two different authorities are set up under the Act, namely the National Board for such units, headed by the Minister in charge as chairman. There are a number of other members which I did not count here. And the purpose of such bodies to examine the factors affecting the promotion and development of MSMEs and to review the policy and programs to facilitate the promotion and development of such units and to make recommendations for the same, as also to advise the government on the use of the funds. The advisory committee is also constituted, headed by Secretary of the concerned department. Here also there are a number of other members which I did not count here, with an object to examine the matters referred to the committee by the board and to make recommendations for the same, as also to advise the government on the level of employment, investment, need, etc. So far as other provisions of the Act are concerned, yes, the distinction of units is made into three categories: micro, small and medium. This categorization has varied over a period of time, but I did not bother you about such changes, and I would like to tell you only about the new category which is to come into force from 1st July 2020. The limit of micro unit is, with respect to investment, 1 crore, and with respect to turnover it is 5 crore. For small units, the investment limit is 10 crore and turnover limit is 50 crores. And for medium units, investment limit is 50 crores and turnover limit is 250 crores. I may here tell you two things: that while counting this turnover, export amount is not to be considered, and the earlier distinction of manufacturing unit and service unit that no longer exist now. So broadly, the categories are simplified and the limits are raised. In short, you can say that units up to 50 crores of investment and 250 crores turnover, they are covered under this Act. And once they are covered under this Act, as I have told you, they get number of advantages, some of which I have mentioned here. Mind well, central government is again empowered to vary this classification, and we don't know to what extent it can be varied in future. But suffice it for now to know that this is the present classification. Law provides that whoever wants to establish such unit shall file a memorandum with the authority, and the authority, after considering the proposal, can grant registration. As I have told you, even online application can be made and you can get the certificate while sitting at your home. The only thing is you need to approach the site of the government in this department, or else the district industries center, which is available in all districts. Now, so far as this Act is concerned, various measures of promotion, yes, in different areas like development of skill of employees, management and entrepreneurs, technological upgradation, even marketing assistance and infrastructure facilities, procurement of goods, funds, because separate fund is also created for such units. Grants are also made available for disbursement, and on what basis it can be disbursed, all those provisions are made. The only thing is you need to get yourself registered as MSME and visit the site and know the advantages, favors granted to such units. Most important of all other advantages is the protection on delayed payments. Mind well, this is a major hurdle, and once the unit faces financial crunch, you can visualize the difficulties. Even a lockdown for 2 months, everyone now visualizes and experienced the difficulties what one can face. And therefore, essential provision is made in the Act that payment has to be made ordinarily as per the agreed terms, but these agreed terms cannot be more than 45 days from the date of acceptance of goods or where it is deemed to be accepted as provided under the Act. And if the payment is not made within 45 days, then the provision is made that the buyer has to make payment at the compound rate of interest with monthly rest. Now, how this can happen? There has to be machinery for adjudicating this, and therefore the machinery on the line of 93 Act is also set up under this Act, under the nomenclature that Medium and Small Enterprises Facilitation Council. This council, yes, functions as conciliator and in case of need even as an arbitrator. Meaning thereby, when the payment is not made and the unit is registered under this Act, can approach the council. Council will make an attempt to conciliate the issue, and if conciliation is not successful, it may refer to arbitrator for adjudication. Here I may note that either the council itself can arbitrate or can refer the same to some institution or center who renders such services in conciliation and arbitration. Once the award or decree is passed by such institution, then no application for setting aside such award or decree can be made without depositing 75% of the decretal or awarded amount. And the court is empowered to make the payment to the supplier out of the said amount of deposit as the court finds it reasonable. Mind well, in order to put a further barrier, it has been provided in the Act that the person who makes default in making the payment, the buyer, is not entitled to get the deduction of this payment under the Income Tax Act. Provision is also made in this Act to the effect that the concerned officers are empowered to call for the information. And if the information given is wrong, the provision for penalty is also made, and in case of second and subsequent wrong with increased penalty, the provision is also there. So, in substance, you can visualize that how is it possible, how it is easy, and how it is advantageous to get yourself registered as MSME under the MSME Act. Thank you.